Hello there, WINDPOWER students. This is Dr. John Schrage, and I am going to give you a little overview of what we're going to be doing in Module 1 of our class this semester. And I thought I would do it by kind of making it a little tour of how these modules work in Blueline. Up here at the beginning of the I'm actually in the student view right now, which should be more or less the same thing as what you see when you're logged into Blueline for the class. So up here at the top, we of course have this stuff that's kind of pertains to all the semester, like the syllabus and the calendar and the schedule and so on. But now over here, you should be able to see Module 1, the nature of the atmosphere is what I called it. All of these modules have to have, according to Creighton policy, have an overview at the beginning. You're actually right now watching the video that will be up here. I don't have it up there yet. And this is where you can find things like the key objectives for this module, and you can kind of learn what the expectations are. You can find out about the distribution of points in the module and so on, as well as like all of the deadlines for this module, the reading assignments, all the different lectures and how long each one of them takes to go through, what are to be submitted and so on, and then when the quiz is and so on. That's all right there on that overview page, and each of the 8 modules of the course has an overview page like this. Now, each of the modules is sort of structured the same sort of way, where I have a group of, what I've called lectures, and we'll look at that in just a little bit, and a group that I called handouts, and then finally a group that I called assignments. You work through the lectures at first, and of course you need to do the assignments and so on, but we'll figure that out along the way. The lectures in this class are all kind of the same sort of format here, where like if I just go to this first lecture here, what you do is you go and, like in this case, this is a 17-minute lecture. Okay, you read the associated pages from your textbook, which you could either get from here, or if I forgot to put it here, it's always on that overview page. And then get yourself a copy of the handout. Now, that can be done a couple of different ways depending on what works for you and what you want to do with the handout. All the handout is the handouts generated from the PowerPoint presentation that I used. Some of them are just, like I have it here in 4 different formats, and you just get the one that works best for you. If you're just going to print them and 6 to a page looks good, the PDFs are fine. If you actually want to have the PowerPoint file for whatever reason, like you don't want to print it, you just want to look at it on the screen, or you want to print it a different format, like maybe 2 slides to a page or something, just get yourself the PowerPoint. Anyway, so it's here to you in a couple of different formats with the pros and cons of each of the formats listed right there. And then you go watch the lecture. Now, I put the lecture in 2 different places. One is always on a server at Creighton, and one is usually on the server at my home here in Indiana. And that makes it, well, more robust. You're more likely to get what you need, and it being available, and there isn't some nonsense of one computer or the other is down or whatever. Just for the sake of argument, I'll pull it up off the web server at Creighton right now. And all the pages that are lectures look something like this. In this case here, this particular lecture just has one part. You can actually kind of see the navigation over here on the side. There's one part to this lecture that's about 17 minutes long or something like that. And along the way, you get asked questions. So like in this case, it isn't until the end of this short lecture about chapter 1, which you can watch by playing the YouTube video. I won't play it right now because it would do bad things to the audio that I'm recording. Notice, by the way, that I would personally recommend watching it in high definition and full screen, and the instructions on how to do that are on every page along the way. They show you here how to switch YouTube to full screen and high definition. But when you watch this there along the way, I'll be posing questions to you. Like in this case, here's question 1. And when you know the answer to that question, you click on it, and when it's posed to you or whatever, and then it'll give you feedback. Like in this case, I got the question right. If I had gotten the wrong, and there's a little feedback here. You can watch this short little video. They're usually about 30 seconds to a minute that explains what was right or wrong about your answer. And then you just move on to the next question when you're ready for that. And here's question 2. And let's just say I answered this one right here. And this time I got it. Sorry, but that's not the right answer. So then you would watch this video, again, this like probably 30 seconds, 45 seconds, something like that, that explains why the answer is wrong. These little questions that are embedded in the lecture, I have no way of grading them or knowing how you did or anything like that. But I'll tell you what, I'm pretty lazy. Similar questions to these exist in the test pool for the quiz at the end of the module. So they're good for you to know what's going on and understand the answer and so on. It's good little feedback for you to see all of this. So you work your way through these little video lectures. Let me just show you another one here, a much longer one. How about variables and forces in this case? So here again, I'd literally just copy and paste this page and change the links and so on. So here is the variables and forces lecture. Again, you go over here and choose one of these 4 formats for your handout, whatever works for what you're planning on doing with it, printing it. You want to print it, but you don't want 6 slides on a page. However you want to do it, I don't care. And then you go and you watch the lecture. And so here's the lecture. Okay, now this is a fairly long lecture. This is the longest one in this module. I think it's 85 minutes. Yeah, it takes about 85 minutes. All right, so like you'll watch part 1 of the lecture and, by playing this here, and it's about, I don't know, 10 minutes or something long. And then you choose an answer to this question. I'll just guess this. Oh, I got it right just by guessing. Okay. And then you could get some feedback as to what's right or wrong about that answer. You move on to question 2. Here's question 2. You can play the video where I ask the question. That's not always so exciting, but I often give you good hints and stuff like that. And then let's just answer this right here. Sorry, that's not the right answer. So you watch this little video and you find out why B was not the right choice for question 2. And you move on to question 3. And let's just say, I'll push this one right here. Oh, I got the wrong answer again. Sorry, that's not the right answer. Move on to part 2 of the lecture. And you can move on, and now you would be watching part 2 of the lecture, which again, if you look over here on the navigation, is right here. I have this navigation here on the side because I realize you might not do the whole lecture in one sitting, okay? Like in this case, the whole thing adds up to 85 minutes. So maybe you'll do part 1 and part 2 and then come back a different day and just jump ahead to part 3 or something like that, okay? All of this stuff that you're seeing on here, by the way, I wrote the software behind all of this that like sets up these pages and stuff like that. And it's altogether possible that some of these links are broken or whatever, although I think I have it mostly under control. But if you find anything wrong, obviously, please let me know. All right, so those are the lectures that you would be doing in this module. And let me just go back to our main page in blue line. When you watch these lectures, you can see that we make it through chapter 1. Betz's Law and the other part of chapter 1 are here. And then these are the first maybe 5 or 6 pages of chapter 2 in the textbook, getting through some basic ideas about the nature of the atmosphere, its vertical structure, why the wind blows, how we describe the atmosphere in terms of things like pressure and wind and humidity and temperature and so on, as well as the forces at work on the atmosphere and so on. And then this little overview of what we mean by this definition, this term air parcel. Now, I provide certain handouts for you. Every one of the 8 modules has a review sheet. Let me just pull up the review sheet here. I would advise you to read this disclaimer stuff here at the top. This helps you understand how to use the review sheet, because I can tell you from many years of teaching that students often don't understand what I'm looking for when we're talking about these review sheets and so on. And I have a little graph in this case that helps me explain what I'm talking about here. There's a list of like key terms that would be involved in knowing on the test. There's a list of key concepts here as to how things, definitely be able to do this stuff or answer these kind of questions for the quiz and so on. If it's helpful to you to know, in this case, I have a list of how many questions there were associated with each of the lectures. In terms of, at least of the current draft of the quiz, all that's subject to change, of course. But anyway, basic information that would be probably helpful to you as you are preparing for the quiz. This semester I added this stuff about, are you confused about, in this case, the SI system, negative exponents on units. This is stuff that after I recorded the lectures and was watching them myself, it occurred to me, I use that term and I'm not sure that maybe not every student knows what I'm talking about when I say the SI system. So I just kind of plugged in, if you're familiar with it, I mean, undoubtedly they mentioned it to you in like a high school science class, but it's basically just another way of talking about the metric system. It's a version of the metric system that we will be using in this class. If you don't know about it, oh, look, I gave you like 3 paragraphs and now you've got it. A couple links if you want to learn more, whatever. Obviously, you can always ask me too. That's no problem. In this case, too, because I know sometimes students get a little freaked out about the idea of negative exponents on units, I went in over here and put, how do you figure out what kilograms to the -1 means, or what newtons times meters to the -2? That means newtons per square meter. Again, if you're not familiar with that terminology, by all means, let me know. But anyway, this kind of, are you confused about these pages over here in the handouts, will just sort of be where I build a library of, oh, maybe they didn't know about this. Let's put that there so that in future semesters we know all about that stuff. All right, so that's that kind of handout stuff. Now let me steer you towards these assignments. There's, in this case, 4 things you have to do that earn you points. Notice all the modules, if you add it up, it comes to 125 points. 8 modules times 125 points is 1,000 points. There's 1,000 points possible in the course. The first discussion here is, I mean, I'm just giving you 5 points as discussion as credit just to make sure you get it done. Is to introduce yourself. I mean, it's always important in an online course to make sure we all have good lines of communication and that we kind of feel like we know each other and so on. So I just have a little introduction type thing where I want you to tell me a few things about yourself in the discussion. So you'll post a reply here and you'll get your 5 points or whatever, as long as it's done in time and stuff like that. The main discussion, every unit is creating policy that online courses have to have at least one discussion in every module. So here is discussion 1. In this case, I called it a bad idea. And it's a particular, well, gosh, look at those Simpsons characters. Anyway, it's a particular question, kind of role-playing type thing. You're going to pretend to be a wind power consultant helping the mayor make good decisions about wind power, and there's some questions you answer as part of your discussion. And the way these discussions work is you make an original post to this discussion by some deadline that answers whatever questions are in there. In this case, there's sort of 2 questions you would be answering when you make your reply. And then once the original posts are available, then I make them so that you can see each other's posts and you have to post responses to 2 of your classmates. So you'll read their post about answering the questions and you will, in some sense, advance the discussion. That's a Creighton term from the Center for Academic Innovation that they want us to use to explain, like, you can't just say, I agree, or good job. You have to actually say, yeah, but did you think about this and how, and you have to explain how that would make a difference and so on. If you demonstrate that you have put thought into this and you have advanced the discussion, you'll get full credit for the responses part of it as well. Anyway, to help you understand what's going on, by the way, I actually put this kind of disclaimer here that explains all of these things in the class. I mean, actually the homework sets and the discussions and so on. If you go over here by this little gear, you can see show rubric. That is the actual form that I use to determine your grades. So like timeliness, if you submitted it on time, you'll get 6 points. If you're a little bit within 24 hours, you'll get 3 points. If you're more than 24 hours late and didn't have an official excuse, you get 0 points on that category. Quality of writing, a few errors, you get 4 points. If you have lots of errors, you get 2 points. If you have lots of errors, you don't get 8 points. Same with it, you can go through here and see exactly how. And this kind of rubric, this is here for all the homework sets and it's how in Blue Line we actually do the grading. So I thought I might as well make them available so you can see how I do it. All right, so that would be the discussions. Assignment. Okay, again, you can check the calendar as to what day the assignments are due. Here's an actual homework assignment. It's got 16 points. 16 questions. The whole thing is worth 40 points. And you can see the number of points for each question is on here. Generally speaking, what I would suspect you would do is you will probably do these on paper and scan them. You might do it in something like Word and then just send the Word document. You can see how you send these things. Let me see, where does it go? In the student view. Oh, there's your submit assignment. Okay, so you follow submit assignment and you can either upload a file or you could actually sit there and type the whole thing in on Blue Line, but that's not a very fun way to do it. So most of the time in my experience, students either write it out and then scan it, and then they just send me the scan, or they type it up in Word or something like that, and either send me the Word document or a PDF or something. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions about how to do that, because I know that that might be something you're not familiar with. All right, I'm going to leave the page. I don't actually plan on submitting anything. And then finally, there's the quiz. When it comes time to do the quiz, you'll have a 48-hour window to do the quiz, so that you have some flexibility as to when you take it, depending on your schedule and so on. In this case, the quiz actually has 55 multiple choice questions. The quizzes are always some combination of multiple choice, true, false, and so on. Each question is worth 1 point. You'll notice that you have a relatively small amount of time per question. It's about 1 minute per question. Again, that is a Creighton policy from the Center for Academic Innovation. I could talk to you about why they want it to be relatively short. Basically, it minimizes cheating. There just isn't time to do things like look up every answer or whatever. I mean, in online classes, that's a problem. And so you kind of have to just sort of see a question and make a response. Anyway, again, if you want to talk about that, that's fine or whatever. So anyway, you can now see how the points are distributed and so on in these online modules. And we'll have 8 modules over the course of the semester, and they'll all be structured more or less the same way. All right, I think we're going to have a great semester, and please let me know if you have any questions as you work your way through Module 1.